Alright, so I'm going to talk about nutrition from a beginner's perspective. Kind of like how my mentality was when I first started, and that whole transition, and just kind of remembering back to what it was like for me, and what I've learned throughout this entire process of being misinformed. And so the first recommendation I would say is to get educated. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of conflicting viewpoints. There's a lot of camps that have the right answer, and so my first thing would be to get educated, and that doesn't mean necessarily looking up all these articles and what other people say. Pretty much just learning what you're putting into your body, and it doesn't have to be a super in-depth observation. It can just be, simply looking at the nutrition facts on the back of the box, and or googling what you're eating. If you're having this amount of chicken, or maybe you're going to this fast food place, and just looking it up and saying, okay, well, this is what I'm actually eating, rather than just consuming things blindly. And so you might be looking at it and you're like, well, vitamin A, 12%, 26 grams carbs, 13 of those are sugar. What do I do with this? And so the second step is to kind of define a goal. Maybe you want to bulk or gain muscle. Maybe you just want to stay at the same and make sure you don't put on fat. Maybe you want to cut. Maybe you want to get leaner. And so what I do is I use the If It Fits in Your Macros calculator, and I'll put a link in that down below. And so it asks for your information, like your height, your weight, your activity level, and you have to be really honest. If you're not exercising 5 times a week, you're only going to cheat yourself by lying and saying, hey, this is how much exercise I do, when it's not accurate. It really requires accurate information. And so you go down, and then it asks your goal, like whether you want to cut or whether you want to sustain or bulk. And then it divvies up the macronutrients over as many meals as you want to use. Like it could be 3, 4, 5. I do 5 just because of the amount of calories I'm consuming. And so then you get this information, and it really helps to have a food scale. Honestly, you can kind of you can weigh what it doesn't have nutrition facts, like apples or nuts or different cuts of meat. And it sounds like a lot of work, and it kind of is. It is a lot of work to actually know what you're consuming, but you're able to learn it, and you remember what things are. Eventually, you'll be able to eyeball it, and you'll just be like, okay, this is about this many carbs, this is about this much protein, and it's not a direct science. Like you're burning different amount of calories per day, but as long as you get close and you're at a caloric deficit, if you're trying to cut, you're gonna lose body fat. That's just how your body works. Your body needs energy, so if it isn't getting it from the food you're eating, it's gonna take it elsewhere, which is your body fat, or in some cases even it metabolizes muscle. And so once you get on this route, it can be difficult. You realize, I'm only have allowed 40 carbs, but this pop has 38, and if I use all 40 of those carbs, I probably won't be full. And so that's when eating healthy or eating clean comes into the picture. And so you stuff like broccoli will fill you up a lot more than other things, just because the amount of carbs in a lot of broccoli is very low, and they're fibrous. And so if you're having trouble staying full, that would be my recommendation, is to just look at what you're eating, because you could eat 400 calories of candy or something and not be full, or you can eat 400 calories of something else and be more satiated throughout the day. And you're gonna lose fat either way, like staying at that, as long as you're at a caloric deficit. You can realistically eat anything in some amount and still lose body fat. And so don't get overwhelmed, don't get bogged down with all these changes. If you need to, make it a gradual process. But just saying, I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to make healthier choices, it's not specific enough. You can get fat or stay at the size you are by eating healthy food. You just might be eating too much of it. Or you can even take protein shakes and not get shredded like you want to, simply because there's the same amount of calories in protein as there are in carbs. And so you're just it's preventing you from being at that caloric deficit that you think, oh well, I'm just having a protein shake, I'm just having 2 protein shakes, and then all of a sudden that might bump you above your maintenance level. And so don't get overwhelmed, stay determined. Remember, it's a gradual process to do this, and it takes time. And stay consistent. As long as you stay determined, stay consistent, you go to bed at night and you know 100% that you are at a caloric deficit, then eventually you're going to lose body fat and you're going to hit the goals, and it feels amazing. So stick with it.